Hey there, it's Layla. It's a cloudy Thursday, and something's been coming up a lot in sessions, whether it's intensives or individual one on ones, even couples therapy stuff has come up around these should statements. And I know I've talked about it before, but I think it's really important that these stories, this narrative in our head, can't come from somewhere that we haven't created or learned, right? So it's when that should gets really loud. I've noticed with clients that it's this ambiguous, kind of amorphously shaped, non-specific metric by which they measure themselves or where they should be. And it's just not helpful. More importantly, it's not accurate. And so it's a really interesting thing. I call it the COMPASS framework because I love an acronym. So all the letters of COMPASS kind of point to the questions we can be asking ourselves. And it's really helpful in getting into the nitty gritty, getting away from these big, broad, sweeping ideals that we're measuring where we should be, how we should feel, behaviors, this, that, and the other, like, so if you start hearing yourself think like I'm failing or I should be doing better, I should be further along, all of those things are telling you that you're in that narrative, and maybe some specifics and nuance are necessary. Because what I do to my clients is when they're saying, well, I should be further along, I go, according to what? Who says? Where are you hearing that? And they get quiet. And it's really great because shame isn't about behavior, right? Shame is a lie somebody told you about yourself, or that you read about yourself, or that you've, created from these outside things. It's an invisible set of rules. I call it the committee of assholes in your head, like holding up scorecards. It freezes us. It gets us stuck. And when you really look at it, you might notice that you didn't choose it, right? And maybe you did at some point in some protective way, but you didn't choose to keep carrying it forward if you really look at it. But you are. And yet any moment on any day you can choose to kind of put that down. So COMPASS, COMPASS, right? So like I want you to think about something that you've kind of been chomping on, or how you feel like you should be different than what you are, right? And starting with the C, that stands for context. What's the actual data? What's the context? What are the facts around this? Get the circumstances, and it's interesting. I could spend a whole session just on context because context is key. O is, where did this should originate? Where did this metric by which you measure yourself come from? Was it Aunt Linda with her overly critical bullshit every Thanksgiving? Was it the father that, just never said he was proud? It's important to understand that because it is informing everything and we're bringing it with us. The M is for the meaning. What meaning is attached to this? What does it say about how I perceive what good or bad is as a person? And it bears looking at because that's kind of how we figure out these nuances. The P is, do I personally agree with this thing that I'm living by?
Oh.
Hey, Chris. Just making a video. How's it going? The P in COMPASS is, do I personally agree with this thing that I'm trying to live by? And I think that's where I really notice clients go, oh, no, I don't. It's just kind of what I've always been told. And it informs all those shame spirals and those should statements. The A in COMPASS is, if I acted in alignment with my values instead of fear, right? What would I do? That's a key one. Understanding that fear can't be the driver, and is it actually aligned? It's a reflex fear when we're kind of coming out of shame. And then the last two S's of COMPASS are self-respect and service. So thinking about self-respect, the question is, would future me respect this choice? I take it one further with clients. What would you, if your kids were there and they could see how you handled feeling this shame, or by what metric you were holding everything you did, would it show self-respect? Would you be modeling how to respect yourself to your own children? and I trust that my clients and whoever's watching this has the emotional intelligence to handle that kind of challenge. It's not to make you feel anything negative, it's to really kind of own like how we think and talk to ourselves without understanding context and nuance. The last one is service. Very easy question, but like, is what I'm doing or what I'm not doing creating harm, neutrality, or contribution? Most people live in the it's harmful, like I'm going to go numb out, or I'm going to be really mean to myself, or I'm going to criticize everything I do and never stop until it's perfect, which is unattainable. So there's harm. Neutrality is almost like, maybe I just don't try. Maybe I can't do it. Contribution is like, how can this thing I'm pretty tough on myself about, how can I use it in contribution, in service of others? I think it's important to point out that this compass tool, this compass framework, it helps you choose your direction, just like a compass would. Like, where are you setting your arrow? Because it needs to be specific. You've got to understand like the lay of the land, the topography, the terrain, the weather, right? All those things factor in. And if I'm just judging everything based on a very general and broad blanketed statement of like, I should be doing better, of course I'm always going to feel like shit, right? But it helps me figure out what is my direction so I can measure it. So integrity isn't about perfection, not even close. It's about alignment over time, every time. Aligning with what you believe and who you want to be and how you want to show up.